Ho, 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 and Merry Christmas, everyone! I hope you're all enjoying this wonderful season of light and joy. It's a time to relax and remember the good things in life, and maybe even rededicate our efforts to promoting peace and goodwill towards men in the new year to come. You know, that actually does sound pretty hard now that I think about it. So why don't instead we just watch some good old-fashioned television? I love Christmas specials. I grew up in the heyday of ABC Family's The 25 Days of Christmas, where they would literally run 25 straight days of Christmas movies starting on December 1st. This was pre-streaming, mind you, so if you missed out on your favorite Christmas special, that's it! Better luck next year! My favorites were always the Rankin-Bass stop-motion classics. Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, Santa Claus is Coming to Town, heck, I'll even watch a Nestor the Long-Eared Christmas Donkey. These films were always just so special and magical to me. My siblings and I can quote some of them almost verbatim. The Year Without a Santa Claus is nothing short of a certified masterpiece of children's entertainment. While we're at it, here's a little Rankin-Bass fun fact for all you weebs to put in your Christmas stockings. Beginning in the late 1960s, during their meteoric rise in popularity, Rankin and Bass started outsourcing some of their 2D animations to other companies and other countries. Most notably, they outsourced to a little rising star across the Pacific Ocean called Toei Animation. The same people who made Dragon Ball Z also helped make your Christmas a bit more magical. Naturally, the need for Christmas cheer could not be satiated by entirely original projects. As time went on, any popular TV show would get a Christmas-themed episode, and many of these are quite excellent. Christmas with the Joker from Batman the Animated Series and Comfort and Joy from the Justice League cartoon are just a couple that I personally watch every year. However, one franchise that I've never really thought too much about, at least when it comes to Christmas, is Pokémon. Okay, that's kind of a lie. I did have to prove that Pokémon do celebrate Christmas for last year's Christmas special, but this year, I am looking at something I have never spent much time on in the Pokémon universe, and that is Pokémon Christmas specials. In the early days of the Pokémon anime, the people in charge of the anime decided to try their hand at not one, but 6 different Christmas and winter-themed Pokémon animated adventures. Today, I'm sitting down and watching all of them, because what else is a man to do at this time of year? Spend time with my family? That's ridiculous. The only ones who know anything about Pokémon are my 5-year-old nephews. Anyway, we have about an hour and a half of animation to watch through, so let's go ahead and start with the very first one that came out, as well as the one that's just a regular episode of the standard Pokémon anime, Holiday Hi-Jynx. Before I can even start the episode, let me point out just how cursed this episode ended up being before it ever even got to the airwaves. You see, this episode was actually supposed to come out in Japan on December 23rd, 1997, just in time for Christmas. Instead, it managed to come out in Japan on October 5th, 1998, just in time for Halloween, I think. Now, why did this happen, you may ask? You see, this is because the Pokémon anime had to be put on hiatus for several months, following the episode that aired 1 week before on December 16th, 1997. It was a little ditty known as Electric Soldier Porygon, the infamous Pokémon anime episode that sent 685 people, largely children, to Japanese hospitals with epileptic seizures. That's the episode that the first Pokémon Christmas special was supposed to follow. So, we're already got a lot writing on this. Anyway, let's get to the actual episode. The episode starts with Team Rocket rehearsing their plan to kidnap Santa. Where did they get this giant cliffside winter castle? I don't know. Naturally, they want to rob the presents from everyone, and Jessie in particular wants revenge, because when she was a child, she watched Santa steal one of her broken toys, and she is confident that Santa is actually a Jinx. Catching up with our heroes, Ash and Co are walking down the beach for some reason when they spot a Jinx standing on the shore holding a boot. You know, it's kind of fun going back to the Gen 1 anime like this after all this time, because you forget that this version of Ash is kind of an absolute gremlin. He immediately tries to assault the Jinx and capture it, but Jinx is able to repel his assault with that aforementioned boot. After some weird hair-based telepathy, we learn that this Jinx belonged to the one and only Santa Claus, but it accidentally ended up on an iceberg and floated away from the North Pole while shining Santa's boot. You see, we know it's Santa's boot because he put his picture in it, because that's definitely easier than translating the original Japanese. Naturally, our heroes are going to try to return this Jinx so they can save Christmas. Somehow. Their plan to do this is to build a raft and have their Pokémon pull them to the North Pole. Even though they're clearly on some sort of sunny beach during December, which likely means they're either in the tropics or the southern hemisphere, but who cares about that? We're still just going to pull this raft all the way to the North Pole. When the Pokémon get tired, Ash strips down to his boxers and pulls the raft himself. Jeez, this kid is unhinged. Naturally, that doesn't work, but they do meet a telepathic Lapras capable of human speech who also belongs to Santa to help them go the rest of the way. You can probably put together the rest of the plot here. They make it to Santa's workshop, but Team Rocket show up and try to steal Christmas. We see Santa has no actual elves in the Pokemon universe, only Jinx, who all use their psychic abilities and Lapras' Ice Beam to defeat Team Rocket. We also learn that Santa repairs broken toys and can canonically only go to children who believe in him.
I repaired it in my sleigh and we tried to go back, but you didn't believe in me anymore, and I'm powerless to go where hearts are closed.
That's why Jessie always thought her toy was stolen. She broke it, but stopped believing in Santa after seeing it was a Jinx, so he stopped visiting her and could never return it. With Christmas saved, Santa departs upon a sleigh pulled by a flying ponyta. What is this show? Overall, this isn't a bad Christmas special. Now, if it weren't for the Santa plotline, it honestly could just feel like a Jinx-based episode of the original anime, even though they couldn't be bothered to use Jinx in this episode's Who's That Pokemon segment. Pidgeotto, really? I know Jinx isn't a particularly popular Pokemon, but I do have to admit that after all these years, I do feel a little bad about it. Its friends Magmar and Electabuzz got new evolutions. Meanwhile, all Jinx has ever gotten is a baby and a mandatory recolor. That's right, most people might remember that Jinx had to be officially recolored from primarily black to primarily purple to avoid allegations of racism, and this episode caused those allegations. Carol Boston Weatherford, infamous hater of children's entertainment, wrote her article accusing Pokemon of racism because of this very episode, causing it to be pulled from reruns. That is 2 controversial episodes in a row, Pokemon. You're really just batting 1,000 here. Moving away from the regular series of the Pokemon anime, let's look at Pikachu's Winter Vacation. Beginning with Christmas 1999 and going to Christmas 2001, Pokemon produced a series of Pikachu-centered shorts all about the wintry adventures of our favorite rat, and they all went straight to home video on good old-fashioned VHS tape. In addition to VHS tapes, most of them were also re-released as part of Pokemon Chronicles, a side series that followed the adventures of Ash's friends who weren't in the spotlight of the show, like Tracy Sketchit or Richie. This series aired during the Ruby and Sapphire era, so it can honestly be a little jarring watching Pokemon Chronicles in order and see the show just randomly jump back to the Kanto and Johto era animation. For the bits that we care about though, they actually might seem a little familiar to you. If you've ever watched the Pikachu's Vacation shorts before some of the old Pokemon movies, you can actually probably picture these shorts pretty well. They usually don't have many, if any, human characters following the events of some of the gang's Pokemon. Let's look at the first in the order, titled simply Christmas Night. The setup here is that Professor Oak has loaned the gang a cabin he owns, I think, for the gang to stay at during Christmas. Ash, Misty, and Brock decide to leave a bunch of their Pokemon at the cabin while they run a few errands. I don't even understand why they left them behind though. Half of Ash's team is still in their Pokeballs, as well as nearly all of Brock and Misty's Pokemon. The Pokemon explore the cabin a bit to find that it's all decked out for a Christmas extravaganza. Look at Vulpix, straight up baller flipping that party hat on its head. Hi-Jynx, get it, naturally ensues after this. Squirtle accidentally eats Bulbasaur in cookie form, causing those two to start fighting. Vulpix gets a stocking caught on its adorable little head, and Psyduck finds a bottle of definitely not alcohol. Look, we wrote sparkling cider on it, it's not alcohol. All this chaos ends up with the tree getting knocked over and Pikachu causing a blackout with its rage. After finding a little music box, the team is able to rally together and put everything back just in time for the humans to get back for the Christmas party. What a cute little heartwarming tale. Immediately following that last one is a short titled Kanga Games. This one is definitely less Christmas related and is more about fun in the winter sun. It also doesn't even try to give a reason for why there aren't humans in this one. Pikachu and the gang all wake up in the Pokemon Center they're staying at to find a big snowstorm rolled through in the night, coating everything in beautiful frosty powder. And naturally they want to rush outside to go play. I'll give this one a bit of credit because it actually did remember that Ash and Co. have a few more Pokemon, namely Brock's Geodude and Onix. Why Brock left his Onix outside in the winter snowstorm, I don't know, but hey, at least more of the gang is here. Most of the short is dedicated to the gang's amusing antics in the snow, such as Psyduck deciding that face smashing into the snow is really funny, for some reason, largely because it is. Eventually, they meet a Kangaskhan and her baby and start playing together. You know, this whole sequence is a little bit more endearing when you remember that Pikachu was actually raised by a Kangaskhan. And you know what? I'm now headcanon that this Kangaskhan is actually the same one that Pikachu hung out with as a Pichu, and they're now getting together for some holiday fun. Christmas is all about family at the end of the day. At one point, Meow shows up to give us the only voice lines in the short for about 5 seconds before—
What a bunch of amateurs! I guess Meowth will have to teach him how to have a real snowball fight with this little baby.
Togepi and baby Kangaskhan find a conveniently placed sled and immediately end up running down a mountain to their icy doom. Luckily, Onix makes for a much better sled until it doesn't. Just stop, dude, you're a sentient creature. At least attempt to put on the brakes. Good thing Kangaskhan is there to break the speed of sound and stop the Onix like Superman stopping a freight train. As the sun goes down, the gang says goodbye to Kangaskhan, and they all return to their venture with Ash and friends. That's about it for Christmas 1999, so let's jump ahead to Christmas in the year of our Lord 2000. We are now firmly in the Johto region. There were also 2 shorts released this year, but try as I might, I could only find one of them online, and I couldn't even find that in very good quality. I found a sketchy re-upload of it on someone's Facebook page. Luckily, it is the more Christmas-centric of the two. According to the summary I read on Bulbapedia, the other short, Winter Games, is pretty similar to the last short anyway, being about snowtime fun with a plot centered around taking care of Togepi, so it doesn't sound like I'm missing too much. Let's go ahead and look at the short that we do have, titled Stantler's Little Helpers. I'm beginning to notice something of a pattern with these shorts, as just like the last ones, it begins with Ash and the crew staying in some snowy winter cabin, only this time, tonight is Christmas Eve. I know that Ash and company are traveling and likely don't have access to Christmas decorations, but I feel like you can do better for a Christmas stocking than a literal sock on a hook. All of the humans decide to settle down for a long winter's nap, but Ash's Chikorita has different plans and wakes up a bunch of the other Pokemon. While they look around the cabin, they look outside and see a fully decorated Christmas tree. Traditionally, you put those inside. When a red shooting star streaks by, everyone falls out of a window and runs into the night. Good job training these guys, everyone! They ran away the very first chance they got. Now you may be wondering just what that red shooting star was, yet I already foreshadowed it for you by mentioning Rankin and Bass earlier. That's right, it's Rudolph the Red-Nosed Stantler. 2 things about this. 1, aren't you supposed to have a team of 8 to 9 reindeer, Santa? Why do you only have 1? And 2, What happened to your magic flying ponytail, Santa? Did you box it? What the heck, man? Santa's Stantler is apparently too sick to make the Christmas journey, which makes me wonder why you brought it this far in the first place, Santa! Santa asked Pikachu and friends to help him locate some berries that might help it feel better. It's late into the night though, so obviously they can't see. How are they going to solve this particular predicament? Simply snap the light off the top of the Christmas tree and have Pikachu use it like a magical light bulb hat. After some trials and tribulations, they find the berries and give them to Stantler, who lets out a good old-fashioned scream of health.
Sounds like there's gonna be a Christmas after all.
And now Santa can go deliver presents to all the good boys and girls who believe in him, as that is how the Pokemon world has established how Santa works. As we move on to Christmas 2001, we're now going to be watching what is probably my favorite of all of these Pikachu shorts, Delibird's Dilemma. I think they really nailed the humor this time around, but that's at least partially because they started this off with the most pessimistic narrator the Pokemon universe has ever seen.
Don't believe all that sentimental Christmas hooey. Something bad's going to happen, I just know it.
Let the Pokemon have some fun with their surprisingly sturdy snowball bowling, you pessimistic narrator. Jeez!
Yep, what did I tell you?
Okay, but you didn't actually know that was going to happen though, so my point stands. Meowth once again shows up to give us about 5 seconds of voice acting before getting blasted in the stratosphere by a Skarmory.
Think that Skarmory relocated for the holidays. You don't ever want to get one of them mad, not if you know what's good for ya.
The real star of the show here is Delibird the GOAT. I freaking love this thing. I love Delibird. He's so cute, he's so cool, he had the best Pokemon Stadium 2 minigame, he's just so awesome. I freaking love Delibird! Totodile's snowball caused Delibird to drop a bunch of his presents all over town. Now why Delibird was bringing presents to this town in particular, given who we eventually find out his owner is, I do not know. Either way, the Pokemon crew heads out to help Delibird recover his presents and save Christmas. Here's a question, how does Delibird's tail work? Delibird's tail is a giant bag that he keeps things in, and we see him clearly holding the top of that bag here, on the right side. Yet, when Totodile hands him the first present, Delibird's bag opens on the left, under its own power? A, the opening is on the wrong side, and B, why does he need to hold the bag closed if he can pull whatever this maneuver is? Once they've recovered all but one of the presents, including snatching one from a butt-slapping Apom, the narrator reminds them that they only have 10 minutes until midnight. At sunset.
It's 10 minutes till midnight.
Where in the world is this town? Luckily, they're able to find the last present and narrowly avoid dropping off a cliff thanks to an assist from that butt-slapping Apom. With that, they return the presents to Delibird, who returns them to Santa? Delibird is delivering presents to Santa so that Santa can deliver them to children. Also, Santa was the pessimistic narrator the whole time.
I want to thank you all for finding the missing presents, and you did it just in time because I've got to start my delivery run now. Hop aboard, Delibird.
Alright, come on, dude, you're supposed to be a jolly old elf. Alright, we're down to our last Christmas special titled simply Snorlax Snowman. This one starts with our Pokemon crew building a snowman. Chikorita noticed that she could kind of draw eyes on it that look a little like Snorlax, so they edit their frozen creation into a giant Snowlax. These are some very artistic animals. That night, the narrator gives us a little speech about believing in magic.
They say that if you believe in Santa, he will come. Well, the same is true for magic. If you believe in magic, you'll find it.
And then, a pure white Snorlax appears at the Pokemon's window. In case it wasn't obvious, we're doing Frosty the Snowman, I think. I believe what they are going for is that this white Snorlax is supposed to be the same one they built earlier in the day. Snorlax leads the crew up to a mountain top where it asks them to get an apple. I guess even Christmas magic can't stop a Snorlax from being a Snorlax. Then they fall off the cliff, roll down a mountainside, and land on a giant ice float, and Snorlax's only response is to fall asleep. I guess even Christmas magic can't stop a Snorlax from being a Snorlax. Then they see a frickin' Aurora Borealis, which makes me wonder where the heck they are in the first place. This is supposed to be the Johto region, but now we're clearly in some sort of polar zone. I mean, I know northern Johto can get real cold, but there's no open oceans up there. So where the heck did they go? How fast is this ice float moving? For no reason in particular, because we can't ever stop the train at any point, a giant whirlpool opens up and almost swallows everyone. And Pikachu has the bright idea of trying to stop it by shooting thunderbolts at it. Fortunately for everyone, Snorlax wakes up and uses Blizzard to freeze the whole thing. I'm not exactly an expert on physics, but I don't think you can freeze an entire whirlpool and have it turn into a conveniently stable, perfectly clear aquarium showcasing the ocean floor and all its many inhabitants? Listen, I know, it's beautiful, Christmas magic, all that. I'm just saying, I don't think the physics works. With Snorlax's Blizzard, the gang builds an ice ship that is seemingly powered by hopes and wishes, before it eventually melts, causing the gang to be saved by a pair of Lapras. That's 2 Lapras saves in these Christmas specials, in case anyone was counting. The Lapras bring everyone to a whole society of Snorlax, and the gang ends up going to sleep on the Lapras's back, only to wake up back in the Pokémon Center. Was it all a dream? I suppose that depends on whether or not you believe in Christmas magic. Now that I've seen every Pokémon Christmas special, how do I actually rank these compared to other Christmas specials? Honestly, they aren't bad, but they're also not much of anything either. They're full of plenty of adorable Pokémon scenes, which is great, but they also don't do much to distinguish themselves. Watching them all back to back like this was probably a bad idea. On an individual level, they're all pretty fun. If you've got some young kids around, I definitely recommend watching them this Christmas. At the end of the day, they're fun, but it's a pretty basic form of fun. With that, I want to thank you all for watching, and thank you all for being with me through 2025. This will be the last big video I make for just a little bit, as I've got a much bigger project planned for the start of 2026 that will take just a bit more time than my usual affair. There will still be shorts and such coming out, so be sure to check those out, like the channel, and subscribe, and I sincerely hope you all have a really great Christmas with your friends and family this year. I'll see you all in 2026. Merry Christmas.